It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is in France. So Brad Sams fills in, and he'll join us along with Mary Jo Foley to talk about the latest news. We're getting really close to the anniversary edition. The big update for Windows is this latest Fast Track update, the real deal. We'll also talk about a surprising change to Skype, one we thought happened years ago, and break down Microsoft's quarterly results. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Windows Weekly, episode 475, recorded Wednesday, July 20th, 2016. Jaunty Picks. Windows Weekly is brought to you by IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV is an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, go to itpro.tv/WW and use the code WW30. And by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you fresh, high-quality ingredients to cook delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. And by audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly. I expect a balloon drop, fireworks, trumpets.
Drum rolls.
Drum roll. Mary Jo Foley, all about Microsoft.com, where she blogs obsessively about Windows and Hadoop.
Stuff.
Azure.
Yeah.
I talked
Hadoop.
to somebody who uses Microsoft Dynamics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
See?
he uses the Great Plains portion of it.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, I said, how do you like it? He said, well, it's good. I've never heard anybody jump up and down about
No.
these things, but it's obviously works for them. He said the programmers aren't crazy about it. It's a lot of work for them.
Well, they're hoping they can change that with that new Dynamics
Right.
365 thing.
Right.
We'll
I think
see.
it's because he says Great Plains is written in something weird. Like
Yeah.
Delphi,
It's like
I
one of
don't
those
know.
legacy
Yeah,
language
yeah,
things.
Yeah. Hey, look who's here too with us. Bradley T. Sams. I'm making that all up.
It's surprising that not too far off. It's a D. But
Bradley
close
D.
enough.
Sams, the executive editor at Petri and, of course, of Thurrott.com. And we love having Brad
Always
on
happy
the
to be
show.
here.
Great to have you. Thank you for joining us. There's so much I want to talk about today, but I think we probably need to start with the earnings because it was a good quarter for Microsoft. Yes?
Yes.
Tell us all about it.
Well, that's why we brought Brad on today, Mr. MBA, to talk about numbers.
Oh, gosh. Making
And
me use
such.
my education. My mother would be so proud of you, Mary Jo.
How many years does it take to get an MBA?
So total, I did it in about 2.25 years.
Yeah.
So you can
Pretty
do
good.
it in 2. It just kind of depends on the program that you're within. But it was 2 years on top of an undergraduate degree.
I would guess, as a journalist, that's really useful.
You know, it's helpful for a lot of things, especially when you see financial earnings come
Yeah.
out like this, because Microsoft yesterday put out it was $22.6 billion in revenue and $5.5 billion in net income. It's also important to note, and this is kind of where my background really helps, is that is what they consider non-GAAP reporting, which is generally
Yeah.
accepted accounting principles. So those numbers, they're hard to interpolate. So the better numbers here, what do we got? Microsoft did $20.6 billion under GAAP and $3.1 billion in net income. And those numbers are something that you can compare across the entire
Because
industry.
it's generally accepted accounting practices. Why do every tech company reports non-GAAP? What are they leaving out that makes it not GAAP, not generally
That's
accepted?
the really kind of unknown question. A lot of startups are doing this too, where they create these new metrics that they say, hey, we have X amount of whatever. And when it's not in a generally accepted accounting principle bucket, it's really hard to understand. To your point, Leo, every time you see that, you should question, okay, what are they doing that's not the industry standard? And here we don't quite know. It could be stuff to do with their constant currency, other fluctuations within the market. But that's what they're doing now. And it's becoming the norm that all these companies, I know Tesla does it, other public companies keep doing this. And it's really frustrating, to be honest.
There's no I guess, law against that as long as they report GAAP earnings.
There's somebody pushing back against it, though, right? Isn't there like some group or some government body saying we should stop allowing them to do this? I thought I had read that somewhere.
It's probably the financial regulators, because it's deceiving. Because if you're an investor, especially like the regulation bodies always go back to the lay user. And if they look at Microsoft's earnings, they say, oh, they did 22.6 billion. Well, that's not really what they're going to report in their financial earnings, which would be 20.6 to the market. So there needs to be some sort of standards, and it's kind of concerning, because this is how you get into like the deception of how well is a company actually doing, which is where GAAP came from, was to establish a baseline of how well a company is doing. So anyways, we could go way down that trench, but anyways.
Well,
that's like a licensing conversation. Let's not go there.
Really is.
Eric Duckman in our chat room says it really should be generally unaccepted accounting practices, or guapo.
Yep.
Very true.
So let's dig deep into these numbers and what they mean. And you know, of course, the question I always ask in the back of my head is Microsoft's kind of realignment, its new strategy, working?
Yep, and that's what everybody on Wall Street wants to know too, right? That's why Microsoft structures their reporting the way they do. Yep, I thought last night when they were talking their earnings, it was the most apparent time of all these about how they're doing this now, right? So all they wanted to talk about was cloud. Everything in the press release was cloud. You know, some of the analysts had questions about, so how's SQL Server 2016 doing? You guys just rolled that out. And they really didn't talk about enterprise software. They just want to talk about cloud, cloud, cloud. And the way they talk about cloud, too, is very vague. Like, we don't really know how they're doing with Azure. They just said it's growing over 100%. Based on what? We don't know. Like, 100% of what number? We don't have it. So there's a lot of stuff going on to make it look like there's a lot of cloud momentum. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of cloud momentum there for sure, because they're fielding more and more cloud products like Azure, Office 365, the EMS suite. They have a lot of different things that are kind of their priority products right now. But if you say, how are they really doing with like Office on premises or Exchange on premises? I don't think we have a good feel anymore for that.
No, you're exactly right. And they like to talk in these generalities too. They only, to your point, they only use percentages, which is really frustrating because you can't actually get any kind of momentum. Oh, sure, it's great if you have 102% growth, but if you only had 100 last quarter, that's not it's not a large gain. And we don't quite know where the foundation of these numbers come from to see like how exponentially are they growing, or is it just really a percentage game at this point that they're hiding behind? The one number that they did give us, and it's not so directly cloud related, in the Office 365 subscriptions, they only gained about 900,000 users for the quarter, which, if you look historically, is a little bit lower than what they have been doing. It was closer to like the 1 and over, and closer some quarters to 2 million. So the 900,000, it's a little bit light for the quarter, even though as a whole, it seems like they did, pretty well.
Yep. And you know what I noticed too? Up until now, they've been pretty consistent with telling us how many seats they had in Office 365 consumer and commercial. So yesterday they said, okay, we now have 23 million consumer subscribers to Office 365. And so I said, well, how many commercial do you have? And they said, we don't really release those numbers all the time. And I'm like, really? You have up until now? Like, okay, true. What is it? So, yeah, I think that number is slowing, and they didn't really want to talk about the fact that it didn't grow at some exponential rate. It's somewhere over 70 million total, right? But now they're applying this new metric that they're calling active seats. Instead of just how many seats sold, they're now talking about active seats. So that means how many people are using it, just like Windows. They're using active devices now.
Yeah. And
So
I
That's,
think
that's
a
good.
new-
That's sell-through then, as opposed
It is.
to
right.
of
Instead
course,
of just sitting on a
you
shelf.
don't have
right?
inventory anymore, so it has to be sell-through, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this goes kind of back to where we started off. There needs to be some sort of standard model, at least for like Microsoft, quarter over quarter. They should be doing the exact same thing and reporting the exact same figures every time, or give us a really detailed explanation as to why not. Because again, while these numbers are nice for us journalists out here to kind of see how the company's doing, people are making very large and expensive bets
Yeah.
on the performance of Microsoft. And if they're not going to be consistent about what they're reporting each quarter, that's a disservice to those people who are putting literally money on the line for this type of a scenario. And if you see waning adoption in the enterprise, that should be communicated clearly, maybe not on the press page, but at least in their regulatory filing.
Yeah, you want to compare apples to apples, or well, that's not the right. But you want the numbers quarter to quarter, even if they're using a non-GAAP. You want to be able to compare them, right? So is it like a shifting? Like you can't do that. You can't say, well, this is compared to last quarter and the quarter before and the quarter before.
I don't think you can
Not
on
this
Office
quarter.
365.
Things are
commercial seat.
changing, though. I mean, to be fair, right? Their business is changing dramatically.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. Like the other number that isn't there this time is how many Windows phones they sold, right?
Well, we know why that is.
But up till now, even when it was really bad, they still gave us
true.
the number.
Yeah.
And this time, nope, there isn't a number. No number.
Yeah, I think it completely dropped below that material threshold, which
Yeah.
that's a whole different issue than the Office stuff. Like we knew that the Windows phones were dropping at a significant rate. And I bet it's just no longer material figure to them. So like, hey, why do we even need to report
Right.
this?
It's what the lawyers call de minimis. Like it doesn't matter. It don't matter. Although I think with the what is it, the HP Elite X or whatever it is coming out now, this may be a beginning of a shift in how we think about Windows Phone, and it may be a new product category.
Right.
Even. Yeah.
The one number that they did give us, and this is a number that Wall Street cares a lot about, is the commercial cloud run rate number. So last year they said, we think by our fiscal 2018 that we're going to hit 20 billion in commercial cloud run rate. So what they count in commercial cloud is Azure, Office 365, Dynamics CRM Online, Enterprise Mobility Suite, this new Dynamics 365 thing when that comes out. All their cloud, heavy-hitting cloud products are going to be totaled there. So right now they're saying that run rate is 12.1 billion. So that was 10 billion just last consecutive quarter. So they are actually showing momentum with their cloud products. We just don't know how much of that pool is what. How much is Azure versus Office 365? We don't know. But they say they're on track with that number, and they still think they're going to hit that 20 billion. So we didn't know that one.
Yeah. And then we'll have a baseline to understand, hopefully, that percentage growth, at least to some respect. Although they do wrap a lot of products into that figure. So it will be still kind of muddled, but at least we'll have some sort of gauge to understand their percentages that they just toss out every quarter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else was big. They had another close to $1 billion quarter for Surface.
Which is pretty
time.
good because typically that quarter that happens is their holiday season. It's usually when they report in January that they have a 1 billion. So the fact that they're doing this in the middle of the summer, pretty far away from any Surface announcements, that's pretty good for them. Xbox console was also down as well. Not. I kind of have mixed thoughts on that because it's sure they got rid of the Xbox 360, so that's going to hurt it. But at the same time, the Xbox One has been dropping in price pretty consistently. Now you can pick them up, at least the older ones, for $279, which was close-ish to that Xbox 360 sweet point. But Xbox Live membership was up.
Yeah.
So I believe
that's
that's
good.
49 million.
Yeah.
Around
That seemed like a good number. Yeah.
It did.
That seems like a very healthy number for them.
Right.
I, by the
And
way,
you know,
got my notice from Amazon that my S
Oh,
is coming on the 2nd.
You're getting one.
Soon. On the 2nd.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and this whole thing about Xbox, so their Xbox revenues were down 9% on the hardware, and then they grew substantially in the Xbox Live membership. Which of those two things do they care more about right now? The Xbox Live membership, right? Because they're very focused on the renewal, the subscription model, and so is Wall Street. So that number to them matters more than the hardware number. They're like we say all the time, Microsoft's in the hardware market to sell software and services. That's why they're there.
That's where the margins are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll
So
see.
yeah, all in all, a good quarter, I'd say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think as a whole, the quarter was very much a positive for the company. I don't think it'd be very hard to argue against that. Sure, not everything is always going to be roses every single time, but their core business is actually up. One of the interesting things that I saw too that was buried in their notes, it says greater than 40% of the search revenue for the month of June was driven by Windows 10 devices.
Yep.
That seems pretty substantial to me.
I know, me too. Yep.
And
so why
I
is
wonder,
that, right?
Right. It's like it. Well, I was gonna say, I wonder at what scale, and I'm sure this is very minute, does that begin to impact Google? Because that's obviously people going to Bing rather than Google.
And it's because Bing and Cortana are built into the operating system, right? So most normal people don't think about or even know how or want to know how to switch the search engine. So if you use Cortana in Windows 10, you're using Bing, right?
Yep.
I mean, basically you are. So that number is only going to grow, and Bing Ads is going to profit from that. And Bing is right now still profitable. They were profitable this whole calendar year, finally, right? And so that's a big difference for that whole part of the business.
Yeah.
The more people use Bing, the better the quality of the searches get, and the search index gets better. So for those of us who sometimes use it or always use it, it's a win. And it's a win for Microsoft. So
yeah, if you would have asked me at the end of June how much of the search revenue came from Windows 10, I never would have guessed 40%.
Me neither.
That
I wouldn't
like to me, that is like the hidden asset that Windows 10 is doing. Is that this is how Microsoft is going to make a lot of money from Windows 10. Sure, now after June 29th, you'll start to pay for it, but the 350-ish million people who got it for free, or how many ever percentage of that are free, if they're driving a significant portion of Bing revenue, that's colossal.
It is,
because that's systemic too. That's the thing. This is like a cash flow operation now, rather than just a one-time payment.
Yep.
It's what they've been trying to do with the Windows Store, but never really got the traction, at least in my opinion, of those sales. And so if they're getting it through Bing, that's crazy until once they get the store up and running. And then Windows is going to be insanely profitable for them, at least from that perspective.
Right. Not even just for, like, a lot of people think, oh, so that means you're going to see ads in Windows or you're going to see ads somewhere. It doesn't mean that, actually. It means the way that they monetize Bing is through ads, right? And search ads and all that. That's how they're making money from Bing, plus Bing being integrated into all of their products and services now. It's just kind of a circle, like I don't want to say a vicious circle, but kind of like that, right? It's just the more people use Bing, the more money they make on Bing ads, the more their search index improves. It's just kind of a cyclical thing that is going to kind of have more momentum and keep going.
What I would love to know, and Microsoft will never tell us this, what their actual click-through rate is on those ads. Because if they're higher than what somebody gets on Google, then that's a pretty big deal. If it's lower, that wouldn't be too surprising. But if these Cortana-driven searches are generating a higher CPM, that's a really interesting scenario for Microsoft, that they can prove to their advertisers that, hey, advertise with Bing/Cortana, and you're going to get a better click-through rate. That's a really powerful metric.
It is. The other thing they didn't talk at all on the call about, and not surprisingly, is what is going to happen with their deal with Yahoo as Yahoo's being sold off, right? I didn't think they would talk about that, but it's something that's got to be in the back of everyone's mind, or in the front of all of their minds, because that's how they kind of got the whole Bing momentum started, was with the search deal with Yahoo. Now that Yahoo's selling off itself in piece parts, Microsoft wants to make sure whoever buys the search pieces is friendly to them, and that the deal will continue to be useful, right?
Yep.
So
I knew this would not be in the quarter, but have you heard anything about when LinkedIn might start appearing? Obviously, this would have been too soon. Our earliest guess would be the upcoming quarter, maybe, if we're lucky.
They haven't even completed that, have they?
Right.
They said on the call they expect the deal to close with LinkedIn before the end of this calendar, so not for a while.
Okay.
Do they have to get
really
regulatory approval for that?
They do. Okay. Yep. I believe so. And I think they've already gotten the shareholder approval for LinkedIn from it, but I think they still have to get the regulatory.
Why wouldn't they? My God.
I know, right?
I wish I were a LinkedIn shareholder. I'd approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Surface, good news, right? The hardware division. I mean, it's $1 billion quarter. That seems good news. I don't know what to compare it with, but
it's like Brad said, it's kind of surprising too, because it's not a time when they released any new models. Although they did get some more Surface distribution in different countries, especially for Surface Book, right?
Yeah. I'd expect though that to be a kind of more consistent seller. It's not like a phone where everybody buys it when it first comes out, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in the market for a PC, whenever that is, there's probably a big buying season right about now for students.
Yeah.
It's going to give you a bump. So, I mean, I think I don't know, but I don't think are PC sales that really seasonal?
I don't know. That's
Especially
I mean, we're entering, whether or not you want to believe it or not, we're entering the back to school season. I mean,
that's right. No, I agree. Yeah.
Right. It starts with graduation and all that. So I think that's part of it. I also honestly really believe that the Surface Book sales could have been boosted by everyone saying, hey,
it
the
works
major
now.
issues are now fixed.
Honest to God. You know, if you were smart, unlike me and Paul, you would have bought one now as opposed to when it came out. Because now it's rock solid. I mean, it's a really nice, really usable computer. But we suffered for months.
Yeah.
Beta life.
Yeah. But it isn't beta.
I know, it's not beta.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Unless you want to say that Skylake was beta, which might not be far from the truth.
And a lot of other manufacturers didn't have the same issues. It's beta in the sense this is Microsoft's very first laptop. So that's beta, right?
Right.
And they did something kind of, I mean, I would say the real overambitious thing was splitting the CPU and the GPU into the different halves and having it ejectable. And I think that's where a lot of the problems came, was just the ejectable screen. And say bye-bye GPU. Bye. Hope you have a good life. See you when we reattach. That's got to be confusing.
Yeah,
it was definitely ambitious, right?
Yeah,
and it's definitely ambitious. What I would love
they
to
were
see
ambitious.
them do.
So I'm not saying I'm not giving them a free pass, but
no.
They need to come out with a new base with an updated GPU. I think that's like the holy grail of the missing Surface scenario, is because CPUs or whatever, but now NVIDIA just came out with a whole new line of GPU. Imagine if they just sold the base for $150, $200. That would allow you to upgrade.
It'd be an upgrade.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they could, right?
I don't know. Is there
So
a
they
1080M?
won't do it then.
No, right.
It makes too
smart.
much sense.
Too smart.
You haven't heard any rumors on that.
There will be a 1080M or whatever, the Pascal mobility, but I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I'm looking here. It says, you might need to be liquid cooled. I'm not ready for a liquid.
No.
No. Oh, I guess they're going to use this is a story from 2 days ago. They're going to use they aren't going to do a mobile part. They're going to effectively use the desktop part. Desktop GTX 1070 and 1080. Wow.
That'll be interesting.
Wow, that'll be hot. Yeah, see, that I don't know if you could really put that in this. I don't know. By the way, they're asking me. I guess I'm wearing orange. You guys are wearing azure blue. I must have missed the memo.
I know, it's funny. I almost always wear blue. So does Paul. Brad's wearing a brighter blue.
Nice,
Brighter
like
blue.
it. And
It works well with my redstone background.
Is it freezing?
Let's just say
in
we're
Cincinnati?
not fashion plates like Donna.
Yeah. Donna. Wow, Donna Sakara. I got not a lot. Twitter's made for heat. I got a little heat from Twitter for asking her what she was wearing. But when you're a fashionista, I thought that was de rigueur. She was obviously wearing a designer outfit.
And she was happy to talk about it. So.
Yeah. I think that's like saying, I hear you're into woodworking. Is that why you're carrying around that nice cane? It's just you go where somebody's hobby is. It's just an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
It's a good
apologize
game.
if it was sexist. I certainly. They said, well, why didn't you ask the other guy what he was wearing? I tell you why, because it was.
I know. You could never ask us what we're wearing because it would be so boring.
It's like LL Bean,
Yeah.
J.C. Penney's.
Whatever Amazon had on sale.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I am, by the way, wearing Tommy Bahama. I'm just in case you're interested.
Okay. Good that you let us know that.
It's a brand name. And I didn't ask her about the bag, but that handbag was not only voluminous, but looked pretty Gucci or something. It looked pretty fancy.
I was sure she had the red button in there, but she did not. I kept looking in. I'm like, is it?
We're going to talk about the red button in just a second because we are perilously close to red button time. But first, a word from our sponsors. You may smoke them if you got them, Brad. The smoking light is on. Our show today brought to you by IT Pro TV. If you are an IT pro or you want to be a wannabe IT pro, IT Pro TV is the way, the enjoyable, fun way to study up for your certs, to get ready, and then to keep your skills up to snuff. I just saw, and I don't know if I can find it, I just saw them, probably, I think it was on Instagram, with a picture of their new studio. So we're both, I saw a little bit in competition sometimes with IT Pro TV. You know, we build a studio, they're building a studio, until I saw that their new facility has 5 studios. They can do 5 streams live. What the what? These guys, I think, you know, and I'm actually thrilled for them. And I think we can take a little bit of the credit for their success. A lot of Windows Weekly listeners have used IT Pro TV, and many more, I think, will go there. Now, over 1,000 hours of content, new courses added weekly. If you go to itpro.tv/WW, you can read up on it. Look at the plans, the pricing, and the course library. The course library is everything. Everything an IT professional needs to know. Microsoft Server 2016, MCSE, that's a great cert to have. System Center Configuration Manager, Certified Cloud Security Professional, AWS, A+, CISA, CEH, that's a Certified Ethical Hacker cert. I want that cert so bad, V9, and more. You can stream their courses live and on demand, just kind of like us, but listen to what they're on. Chromecast, Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, Apple TV, of course PC and tablet, or smartphone. You can watch everywhere. In fact, I know people who put it up on the Roku while they're eating breakfast, head out to work, put it on their phone as they listen in the car, get out of the phone, get to work, put it up on their PC, and you can continue through. They're doing it live 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Now with 5 studios, there'll be a lot of great content coming out of IT Pro TV. They're the first IT video provider with courses for sale. You can buy them onesie-twosie now, a la carte, on Amazon Video Direct. This is a new thing Amazon announced like a month ago. And of course, I think, you know, the best value is going to subscribe. You get one low flat monthly rate, and you get it for, you know, everything they've got. But if you just say, I want this one thing, you can now buy it on Amazon, which is cool. There is, of course, because they're geeks like you, there is a simple cancellation policy, partly because the idea, of course, is that once you get the gig, you know, you can cancel. You get your cert, you get your MTA, you get your MCSA or MCSE, you're ready to go. And then you can cancel. But what I would not, if I were you, only because don't you want to keep up to date? And they're constant. And by the way, it's fun. If you are currently signed up for an enterprise account with IT Pro TV's competitors, and frankly, I don't think they have any peers, but they do have other people trying to get your money. If you're signed up for an enterprise account and those rates are going up, and you know who I'm talking about, this is a nice offer. IT Pro TV will match your previous year's pricing on that account, so you and your team can learn at an affordable rate. They told me just the other day that Harvard's entire IT department for Harvard University now has signed up for IT Pro. MIT, UCSD, Stanford, and many corporations as well. Check out itpro.tv/WW. Upgrade your brain with the most popular IT certifications. Premium subscriptions are normally $57 a month, which is a very good deal, $570 if you buy a whole year. Compare that to a technical school, you'll see you're getting some great stuff. I think they're on air right now. We should go check in and see what they're doing. But we have a special offer. Try it free for 7 days. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. I love IT Pro TV. What are they doing right now? CCENT 100 to 106. Administrating Microsoft SQL Server 2014. Windows 10. That's today. Tomorrow, They continue on with that. Generally, they do that through the week. I think one of the reasons they want to build more studios is so they can have a bigger variety at any given time. Studio One's online right now. Here's the deal. 7 days free. Use the code WW30. That's the promo code to check out their courses, the live stream, and more. You can, by the way, watch free. Just set up a free account and watch the live stream anytime if you want to get a taste of it. But if you want to sign up, save 30% off, 7 days free. And by the way, 30% not just for the month or year, but forever. That brings it down to $40 a month, $3.99 for the entire year. I think these guys are great. I'm big fans. Tim and Don have done a great job, and I'm kind of proud of their success. Jealous, yeah, but proud. itpro.tv/WW. Use the code WW30. Try it free for 7 days and save 30%. Windows Weekly is on the air. Brad Sams is here from Petri and Thurrott.com. He's the editor-in-chief over there, keeping Paul in line. Paul's in Paris.
Paul is in Paris, and I'm very jealous of that. I hate to admit being jealous of Paul, but he's sending me pictures of Paris, and I'm just sending him pictures of like my kids' toys on the ground. So
I really
not even close.
I really respect Paul and Stephanie because they make an effort to go to Europe at least once a year, sometimes more. And they do house trades, so they really get the experience, and the kids get the experience. And I think that's so great.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I would love to do it when my kid gets a little bit older. She's a little too young, but
his kids are old
very
enough
much see
now.
us doing
They're
it.
high school. One's in high school, and one just graduated, right?
Yeah, Mark did.
Holy cow! And then so these kids are going to be cosmopolites, which is great. I think all kids really need to understand the global environment they're going to be working in. It's great for them to know other countries and other cultures. Anyway, he decided, and I think, Mary Jo, you pushed him into it a little bit, to actually take a vacation this week, right?
Yeah, he needs it.
He never takes vacations. He always is working when he goes away.
No, that's because his editor is just a harsh
Brad
taskmaster.
Sams.
That Brad Sams just won't let him on. No, anyway, I'm glad Paul's having some time off and enjoying. He just got there yesterday, so he's probably also a little jet lagged.
Yep.
Will he be back, you think, next week, or do we know?
No, I don't think he's going to do the show next week, but I'm working on some surprise possible guests, so stay tuned.
Ooh. I think Donna Sakar and Chris Capicella should host the show.
I know. That'd be awesome, right?
And then you should take the week off.
Yeah, then I could take the week off. That'd be great.
Yeah. Actually, it would be appropriate timing because aren't we getting close to anniversary? What is the so here's my question. As a Fast Track insider, I just got another update a couple of days ago. What is it now? I can't remember the number.
14393.
14393. And one of the reasons I don't know the numbers, for the last few updates, they don't do the watermark anymore, which has made me feel like this is it, or close to it.
There.
What do you think? Is this it?
I think it is.
I think it is too.
It's
and they're not
solid.
going to announce it.
No.
They're not going to say,
Which
"Hey
drives me
guys, that
nuts.
was it." I know, but you know what? I understand why they don't, because even if this is RTM, which they hate us to use anymore, that acronym, but if it is that, they're still going to be updating the code up until August 2nd, right? Like if you get the update on August 2nd, you're going to get 14393 plus some stuff on top of it too. So Windows as a service, never done, always in
But I think also they don't want all these people saying, "Oh, I would like to get it a week early. Let me sign up for the insider ring."
Yeah.
Right?
They might like that, actually, because
Would
that's
they?
more telemetry.
They might get more insiders. They probably would like.
But you also get more support calls because there's normal people should not be insiders, I think, right?
True. Very true.
I love it that Paul was in the plane when they did this most recent
He was.
update.
It was
Donna
so great.
joked about that, but I wonder how much of a joke it is. I think at this point they might be kind of teasing him.
He was on the tarmac when the build came out and somehow saw that it came out, and he sent me a note on Twitter and he's like, "I'm on the tarmac. It is the build that just came out, right?" Yep. Yep.
The other fun part too is he is flying home, I believe, on August 2nd.
No, and that's the putative date, right?
Right.
Yep.
Although Donna
is
would
the-
not cop to that, right?
Well, she wouldn't tell us if and when they would do RTM. She didn't want to use RTM.
Ready
So-
to manufacture makes no sense in this era.
It kind of doesn't anymore.
Gold master doesn't make any sense, but
No.
And
Somebody in
as you said-
Toronto said to me, you know what they should call it? RTN, released to normals. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of good.
it's kind of insulting. I don't know. You know, it's funny because I almost used the word normals, like that normals would sign up for the Insider Track a minute ago, and I thought that's kind of insulting.
I know.
I'm trying. I've stopped saying your mom,
That's good.
which truly is insulting, especially
I
my
usually
mom.
use unwashed masses.
That's insulting. Muggles. I don't know.
Linux users? No.
Hey,
Oh,
Ooh, those are fighting words. I
I'm
know.
actually. This is the ultimate hipsterism. I am now eschewing Linux as being too commercial, and I'm moving to FreeBSD.
Wow.
wow.
That's the reaction. Exactly the reaction I was looking for. Wow.
You're in a new league.
That's like saying I'm a 25 level Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Whoa. No, it's an experiment. But what I realized, I told Steve Gibson this yesterday, is I was looking for a game. You know, I don't have a game right now. Usually I have a game, either mobile or I'm on the Xbox, and I don't have one. And I thought, this is actually, for me, this is the most fun game of all, is learning a new operating system, learning a new file system, ZFS, which is insane. You know, testing this out. I'm going to build my own cloud server, and this is, for me, like fun. So I should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I like this stuff. No normal muggle, unwashed mask grandma should do it.
I can hear Paul falling asleep in Paris.
I know. Paul. And that's the other thing. I don't use Bash. I'm with Paul on that. I use the fish shell. Seriously.
Fish shell.
Yeah.
What is the fish shell? I've never even heard of that.
It's kind of funny. It's another shell like Bash or Z shell, and but their website says finally bringing the command prompt into the 90s, because really Bash is pretty old.
Ambitious.
Yeah, I know. They're really. Anyway, I don't know. Nobody cares about that. I'm sorry I brought it up.
No.
But-
People want us to talk about Bash when Paul is not here. We've had
Really?
requests. Oh, yeah.
I thought they wanted us to bash on Paul.
Oh, well, that too.
I
but-
should step out then.
To be clear, no, we don't. Are you kidding? We love Paul, don't we?
We do.
He's
We do.
great. I miss him. I think he's a great guy. I hope people know that. We think Paul's the greatest. And
They know. They know.
Yeah, both of you. I love you both. Brad, I'm not. But
Yeah,
it's only
Brad.
because I don't know you. And I. No, I'm teasing you.
You're going to know him after this show.
So this is also part of Anniversary is the Bash Shell, right?
It is.
Yeah. And they're continuing to improve it. There are a number of people now who figured out how to put a GUI on top of it. So this is really weird, but to be running a Linux desktop environment simultaneously as you're running Windows
Yeah.
is
Get GNOME up and running and
Yeah.
life will be good.
weird.
Man, we should have one day on the show, we should have the guy who's responsible for the Bash shell coming to Windows 10.
That would make me so
Because we know him.
Really? Who is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just messaged me a couple minutes ago, actually.
Rich Turner.
Yep. Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
I think that's huge, and I think I could see the conversation he had, which is, look, developers like the tooling on Linux, or Mac OS as well has Bash. They like this command line tooling, and aren't we really out to support developers and give them the tools they want? Not everybody wants to use Visual Studio, or people
what
would
they
like
said.
to use Visual Studio Plus. Maybe they want to use grep or awk, or maybe they want to, and
Yep.
why not give them a really powerful command line? The sad thing is PowerShell is all that and more.
It is.
But, I guess, why not give them everything? It doesn't hurt. It's not a hard thing to add to Windows. And most users will never see it or care about it, as they don't care about PowerShell. I do think it'd behoove, if you're really a system administrator and you're not learning PowerShell,
What are you doing with your life?
Right. You should
Right,
be learning
right.
that.
Well, I think it's interesting too is that Microsoft has what 90% of the desktop market. I mean, there's no dispute that they own the desktop. You know, Apple has some or whatever, but now I feel like they're in the category of it's like, okay, not that they were ignoring the niche users, but it's if they want to get higher than what they're at now, they got to start driving towards those little segments, those little pockets of holdout, and say, oh, you're not using Windows because of Bash, that's why. And so they had the conversation and they brought it. I think we're going to start to see more of this going forward, so they can. That's the only way they're ever going to grow at 90%.
What else would you add? What are the other niche?
Trying to think what else people ask about or ask for. I mean, a lot of people have been asking about containers on Windows 10, and that's also part of that's part of Anniversary Update.
Is it Docker or something? What is it?
Docker container support for Windows 10.
Really, not server, but Windows 10 desktop?
Yeah, client and server both are getting it.
I didn't know that. I got to listen to that Windows Weekly show.
You might want to listen to that show.
That's fantastic.
Paul did a great deep dive into containers, and you should just totally listen to it.
On this show?
Did he really?
No, it's
no.
Maybe.
Paul, the only thing Paul knows about containers are what he put his Tupperware in.
His beer steins. He knows them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he doesn't care about containers, does he?
That's Mary Jo's beat, and we're glad to cede it to her.
Yes. So I don't know what else people want, that isn't there in terms of those kind of niche things. It feels like they're really listening, though. If somebody wants it, they're like, oh, let's think about it, right?
What they're really going for, though, is for the operating system to disappear. Aren't they, really?
To some degree, I would say that's true. I mean, it's just become a layer at this point.
Time, right? Hasn't it? Like, people just want to talk about apps.
I know what. I just thought of what they should do.
What?
This was for a while when in the Windows 95 and 3 days, alternate desktop interfaces.
Sure, I was thinking that too. It's like you can't quite do that yet, and I don't know if they'll let you replace the shell from that regard. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Well, isn't it Explorer? I mean, if you replaced Explorer, wouldn't maybe not. One of the things people love about Linux, and it really is one of the, I think, driving forces is the alternative. You can get any shell you want. Android too. You can use any launcher you want.
Sure.
I think that would be maybe it's technically unfeasible, but I think that would be then the operating system does get out of the way because it's have it your way, right? Whatever you want.
Yeah. The only thing I could see is being kind of the question there, and I don't even know if it would come up, but a lot of times Microsoft wants to have the consistent user interface across all the different variants of Windows 10 to make it easier on developers and customers to, so that when you're using Windows on a different platform, it looks the same, whatever you're using it on.
Well, and there will be the default Windows.
Right.
Explorer, but it would be nice it's the same thing as Bash. Most people are never going to see Bash or Docker.
Yeah. I'm thinking about remember Arrow when Windows Arrow. A lot of people wanted that to come back, right?
What is that? I don't remember that.
It was like the glassy kind of transparent.
AERO.
Yeah. AERO. Yeah. You still have the diehards who care about that. They're like, what about Arrow?
Perfect.
I'm like, oh, jeez.
So you could have a desktop environment that would replace Explorer and give you those kinds of effects or any effect you want. Let 1,000 flowers bloom. Let the community. Create an API. That's really what I mean by the operating system disappears. It becomes such a low-level, enabler that there's an API and anybody can use it as give the top layer to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I bet you they're going that way. Maybe it was such a re-architecture that they can't, but.
Mary Jo, I want to ask you a question. Pivot things here slightly.
Please.
I was talking to some people at WPC, what was that, last week we were up there, an engineer. And he said one of the reasons they're going to the Windows as a service, because Microsoft has had many, many times that this is the last Windows, right? And one of the reasons they're going to that, and I never really thought about this, they said they're tired of competing with themselves.
Yeah.
I had never really thought of it. Yeah, because they're looking at Windows 7. They're like, why are we competing with ourselves? And so that's kind of been, and obviously this conversation took place many, many years ago when they said, hey, we're going to build it as a service. But to me, I just had never really thought of it that way, that, hey, yeah, every time they put out a new version of Windows, they're competing against themselves, and they want to stop doing that. And that's one of the reasons why they're shifting to this model.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because, what's the biggest install base if you look at all Windows? It's 7, right?
Right.
And still is 7, going to be 7 for a while. And they had that problem with XP. XP was the version they couldn't get everybody off. So the idea is once they get everybody on 10, then you just keep them all on 10 and you don't keep coming out with new releases all the time because then you're fragmenting your own community. So yeah, I think it's part of it.
Yeah, I just had never really heard it like phrased that way.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense why you would do something like this. Now, when we come back in 2 years and there's Windows 11, we're going to be like, what? But I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But I don't think it will either. But that would be the big, like, really, guys? But interesting. And then something you actually scooped, or I should say, pried out of the jaws of Microsoft this week, the 1 billion.
Yeah.
They're not going to hit that number. I was quite surprised to see them come out so early and say that.
Yeah, I kind of was too, although people were already starting to be skeptical that they were going to hit the 1 billion Windows 10 on 1 billion devices by mid 2018. Like some people were like, are they going to? Because the PC market's contracting and is it really going to be plausible? So what they announced last Friday, well, they didn't really even announce it. They kind of just put this out there like, hey, you know what? We're not going to hit that mark by mid 2018. And instead, we are going to hit it at some point, but we just don't know when. It's going to take us a little longer than we thought. But some of the explanation as to why was a little iffy in my book. They kind of blamed it on Windows Phone, and mostly on Windows Phone. And I don't think that actually is why they're going to miss. Because I know they knew that their business model was to kind of stop doing Windows Phone and kind of make a break with that strategy. They had already factored that in when they said 1 billion. Also, when they did make that 1 billion prediction by mid 2018, I remember asking Terry Myerson and I said, so is that like on everything, like IoT devices, Xbox, blah? And he's like, yeah, we're totaling everything. But by far and away, we're talking about PCs and tablets. We're not like thinking we're going to get a ton off of IoT or Windows Phone. So they already knew that number was mostly PCs and tablets. So what this says to me is the uptick has been good. They're at 350 million devices installed, but it's maybe not quite as fast as they had thought it would be a year ago.
Why did they even say 1 billion?
I know. I keep going back to this, and I think they said it because they wanted to give people confidence that they really believed that this was happening. And they wanted people to say, oh, if they think it's going to be 1 billion, I guess everybody's doing it and I should do it too. But otherwise, I don't know why they would do this. Why would
the only other thing I could think of, so every time Google has I/O, they always go up on stage and they say, we have 1 billion monthly active users
you
of
can't compete
Android.
with Android activations, though.
No,
That would be
they
foolish.
can't. And I agree. And this is why it didn't make sense. But I think they look at Android going up there or Google going up there and saying, hey, we have 1 billion users or monthly active devices, and Microsoft doesn't want to be left out.
Yeah.
That's the only logic I ever concluded from that statement.
I think also, Mary Jo, you're kind of right. They wanted to show their determination to make Windows 10 the platform, not the latest version of Windows or another Windows, but the platform. And so one way to do that is, they might as well just said, we're going to have everybody on Windows 10 by 2018.
Yeah.
That would have been a better thing to say. That's our goal.
Yeah. They should have made it vague like that, I think, because Windows 7 is still in support through 2020. Yeah. So you can stay on Windows 7 and still be fully supported by Microsoft through 2020 with getting all the security updates. So I don't know. I think they should have made it a little vaguer and not like just drawn a hard line in the sand and said 1 billion by mid 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so now
here's my question. And you probably best to answer this, Mary Jo, because it's really a question about enterprise.
Yeah.
When does Windows 10 become it? Effectively.
For enterprise?
Let's say, but the thing is, the people who are sticking with the older versions of Windows, the vast majority is enterprise. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of people who bought a PC in 2006 and they never upgraded it, and those people will slowly get rid of them. But it's got to be the bulk of the Windows 7 users or enterprise users.
A lot of them are. For
At what
sure.
point can Microsoft say? I mean, it would have to be. It's never going to be 100%, 90%. Say.
Yeah.
That would be that's really kind of the more critical thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's interesting? I think they said on the earnings call, like 90% of the Fortune 500 are now piloting Windows 10. That's actually very big.
That's good news. Yeah.
Right. But, it takes, it's hard to explain to normal people that Windows enterprise customers, the way, like when you're deploying like 100,000 desktops or 300,000 desktops, like some companies do, it's a multi-year process, right? You have like a whole planning document that you come up with. Then you have all the testing that you have to do for the company apps. Then you have training. Then you sort of migrate piece by piece with different divisions. It can take years. Yep. I mean, it's not just like, oh, let's flip the switch and tomorrow we're going to go from 7 to 10.
Well, as an example, our editors, it's almost embarrassing to me, are on Windows 8, not even 8.1.
Yeah.
Because they never leave Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
And
they don't need it, right?
They don't need it, and you don't want to rock the boat.
I know, right?
Unnecessarily. These are production machines. They're in use every day, cranking out the shows, and they do exactly what you want to do. And we've got them locked down, and we're using all the enterprise tools. I completely get it.
Yeah, I get it too. I think. They're trying, what Microsoft's trying to have not happen is another Windows XP where they had to keep extending the life and extending the life and extending the life. They don't ever want to have that happen again. So they're doing everything they can to try to help enterprises move. And in fact, at the partner show last week, they said one of our top priorities for fiscal 2017 partners is to get people to move to Windows 10 Enterprise. Like, this is part of your marching orders. Get these people to move, like help them find features, reasons, hold their hand, do whatever you have to do to get the business customers to start moving. So it is a big priority for them, but I don't know how long it's going to take. It could take a long time still.
Yeah, which is why you shouldn't say $1 billion.
I know. I think it's going to take past 2018 to get the majority of enterprises on Windows 10. Some of them just last year were going on to 7, like just starting to get on 7.
I do
so
think
they're not going to suddenly go.
The messaging that this is the last Windows and it's Windows as a service now is aimed at enterprise. It's aimed at that group saying, look, you do one more migration and then you're good. You're good. Seriously, that's who's most interested in that, right? Because consumers don't upgrade. They buy new machines and they're not even paying attention to this.
Right.
It's except to
weren't paying attention before and it accidentally got upgraded too.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is Microsoft made them pay attention, which probably wasn't.
Oh, I forgot. We should warn people. You remember we were talking about the whole giant Get Windows 10 ad taking over your screen?
Yeah.
As one last push. That's going to start happening this week and next week. Right. So even if you're somebody who's hit the red X, you may still see this giant full screen. Are you really positively, absolutely sure you don't want Windows 10? There is a thing that says, notify me in 3 more days or something, and then don't even talk to me about this again. So make sure you pick the thing that you want there, and this is your last chance. So,
I'm actually doing a big push on the radio show, counseling people to just do it and roll back if you don't like it.
Oh, well.
But get that license now. I think a lot of people...
entitlement.
Yeah, get the entitlement. I think a lot of people think, oh, they'll extend it. And I don't think they're going to.
They're not going to extend it.
Yeah.
I'm like 99% sure now they are not.
Somebody called in and said they are extending it for accessibility users.
They are.
Which is great. I think that's great. And did they say how long they're extending it?
I can't remember. Do you remember, Brad?
No, I don't. I remember hearing that as well, but I don't remember them giving the exact date of when that.
That's really fantastic. That's the right thing to do there.
It is. I don't know how they determine who is that person. I mean, if you're using the assistive technologies that are built into Windows 10, maybe that's how they decide that. But I don't know how otherwise they decide you're in that group.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you could just assert it.
Yeah.
But then maybe there's some sort of certification.
I'm not sure about that. We should try to find that out, actually.
Yeah, because
and
actually
I also
there are a
had
lot of blind, for instance,
I know.
radio shows and podcasts get a lot of blind listeners. There are a lot of blind listeners who aren't using Windows 10 because JAWS is only now kind of recently being updated. And I think that they need to know this, that they have this opportunity, and they need to know what they need to do, what hoops they need to jump through.
Yep. I've been getting, I don't know if you've gotten these questions, Leo, but I've got some people who said they tried to upgrade to Windows 10 and then the upgrade didn't work.
Oh.
And so then they're like, well, can I still get Windows 10 for free? Because I tried to get it, but I couldn't. Right. So I asked Microsoft this today, in fact, and they said, if it failed, there's a reason it failed. And it may be because they didn't have the right drivers or the machine's too old, not enough disk space. So they're saying if it failed and you don't get it on your machine by the 29th, you're out of luck. That's it. It's not like, sorry, I wanted it.
That's really fair, because it could have just failed because one bit got flipped in the download.
I know. You should try it again before the 29th if you're in that group. But then there are some people who tried, it didn't work, and then they couldn't roll back either. They had a problem rolling back, so now they're kind of in no man's land here, right? Like they can't roll back. They can't get Windows
really
10.
Bad.
I know.
That's why, and nobody is doing it, but that's why you make a backup of your system.
Yes.
Image your system before you do this, because you can't count on the rollback. Chickenhead.
I will say that if you are one of those people and you live near a Microsoft store, they are doing an offer right now that if you bring your machine in and it can't be upgraded with it before like the store closes or something like that, they'll give you a new machine.
What?
So like if you're
yeah, they did say that.
PC does what?
Yep.
That's awesome.
PC does what? So you should totally take advantage of that if you know your machine's pooched, and go let them do it. And if they can't do it, then you'll know exactly why, and maybe they'll be able to help you out.
One of our chatters is, I guess, an IT guy. Chickenhead21 says he's upgrading. Right now, he's in the process of imaging 20 machines, upgrading to Windows 10, and then rolling back to Windows 7 so they get the entitlement. You can't do that in Enterprise if you have an Enterprise license, but I guess you could if each machine has an individual license, right?
Well, Enterprise doesn't qualify for the free upgrade.
But what if, like, you just bought machines for people? It has to be in a non-commercial environment?
Right. The Windows 10 free for a year thing only was for consumer and pro. It wasn't for enterprise.
Okay. Well, okay. Even if I bought a consumer version and what if I'm running Windows Home in the office?
You're probably out of compliance with your license.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
No, I think you could do that, but there's a lot of weird licensing things around that if you were doing that. Because certain software is only licensed for what do they call it? Non-work use. So, yeah, I'd say
weird because I bought this. Okay, I bought this Surface Book.
Yeah.
It's not an enterprise licensed Surface Book.
Right.
But I use it for work. Am I out of compliance?
No, but there's compliance and Microsoft licensing stuff is so convoluted.
I know, we've talked about that before. It's
we
crazy.
have. And so they're not going to go after you, Leo, if you're one person doing this, but a lot of companies aren't licensing their software properly. And sometimes they do go after people.
Oh, yeah.
For that. Yeah.
They had the BSA, which is a Microsoft supports them, as ads, which on my radio show saying, turn in your boss, basically.
Yikes.
Here's the number to call if your boss is a jerk.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Skype on the agenda. Office devices. We're talking Windows. We're talking Microsoft. Brad Sams is here from Petri.com. He's Paul's boss, executive editor.
We should have made that your lower third, Paul's boss.
Paul just tweeted Mary Jo and I a glass of wine that he's drinking on the streets of Paris. So
it's a rosé. It looks really good.
I'm so jealous, so jealous. Mary Jo Foley, all about Microsoft.com, and we tip a glass of. I'm going to drink Bordeaux if you don't mind.
Okay.
To Paul Thurrott in Gay Paris. Actually, our sponsor for this segment of Windows Weekly is very appropriate. It's called Blue Apron because of the blue aprons the apprentices at Paris's famous Cordon Bleu cooking school wear to show they're learning how to be great chefs. Blue Apron is a great company that brings you all the ingredients to make delicious meals to your house. You can get a weekly delivery. You can get every delivery on any schedule you want, really. Although it's nice to say, okay, Wednesday's Blue Apron Day, right? And know that you don't have to shop. You don't have to think about that. So you get off work at 5, you're going to come home, and there it is, your Blue Apron box, filled with all the ingredients. And by the way, fresh. It's refrigerated. It's got ice packs in it. Never frozen. Wonderful meats and fish. And the thing is, it's designed around a recipe. There's 3 meals for 2 or 3 meals for your family, depending on which plan you get, in the box, designed around a recipe that you can cook. You can get the recipes you want. Mary Jo's a vegetarian. Yeah, they have vegetarian recipes. You choose from their weekly menu the stuff that you'd like. Let's just see what's on the menu this week. BlueApron.com/twit, the 2-person plan or the family plan. And, well, let's see. Beef albondigas, which is meatballs with sautéed summer squash and pan con tomate. Tomato bread. Oh, man, that looks good. Chicken and buttermilk biscuit sandwiches with shredded collard greens and carrot slaw. Spicy ponzu glazed catfish with zucchini, garlic rice, and ginger peanuts. And you're going to say, but Leo, I don't know how to cook that. You don't have to. They're going to send you every ingredient you need, even if you need 1 clove of garlic, even if you need 1 asparagus spear, it's all going to be in the box. In fact, there it is. It's 1 carrot, 1 clove of garlic, 1 bunch of collard greens, 2 tablespoons of butter. That comes exactly what you need. Now, that's nice because there's no waste. It means you don't have to shop. And then you get this great recipe card that explains everything with pictures. You can also go to the website and, you're going to make your own mayonnaise? Oh, man. Make your own dough, bake the biscuits, make the slaw, coat the chicken, and all of this will be done in 40 minutes. And, man, if you got date night, if you want to impress a special person, you make this dinner and they smell it cooking in the house. You don't take them to Applebee's. You're not going to Chipotle tonight. You're going to make something delicious and they're going to say, I'm in. You win. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone while supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, building a community of home chefs. I mean, everything that you eat comes from 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. The seafood is sourced sustainably. The beef is raised humanely. Chickens are free range. It's all the stuff you would buy. Pork is raised naturally. They use regenerative farming practices for the produce. And you're going to be cooking with ingredients that are maybe new to you, which is fun. That you've never tried before. Ever had a shibumi mushroom? Oh, you're in for a treat. And then the idea is, well, now you'll know what it is and you'll start cooking. By the way, the family plans are great with kid-friendly ingredients. Research shows Blue Apron families cook nearly 3 times more often together. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping, most of the continental United States, by going to blueapron.com/twit. blueapron.com/twit. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Don't wait. blueapron.com/twit. We thank them for their support of Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is enjoying something right now, I bet you. Let's see. It's 8 p.m. He's probably having dinner right now, isn't he?
Probably.
Beautiful glass of wine. How come he didn't tweet that to me? I got to go look his Twitter. Maybe he realizes it would be dangerous. I have wine here,
See?
Yeah. Sorry for missing Windows Weekly, but look at that. Wait a minute, I got to put that on the screen. That's awesome. That is so great. Moving on, Skype.
Okay, this is a great story.
Yes, it is. Finally.
I know. So I'm gonna take a crack at it and then let Brad take a crack at it too. Because I know you also have been complaining a lot about Skype and Skype
Just a
issues.
little bit.
Yep.
There's the
wine. Look at that. Cheers.
Cheers,
So,
Paul. Here's to you.
So all of us have had our Skype issues over the days, months, years, right? Sometimes we've had our instant messages show up out of order. We've all had devices ringing multiple places, even when you're only using one of them. What other annoyances? So many. But we were kind of wondering, like, what the heck was going on with Skype? So finally, today, we found out, or actually last week, we got a briefing on this and found out that, and it was announced today. All this time that we thought Microsoft had already transitioned off peer-to-peer for Skype, which is how it worked when they bought them.
They said that's the first thing they're going to do.
And they did not.
They didn't.
It's taken them till now to do this.
What?
So, yes.
And they're not done yet either.
We turned off.
And they're not done.
We used to turn off the supernoting because that could cause problems in our conversations on the network. Intentionally, and we stopped doing that when Microsoft bought them because we thought they stopped doing supernoting.
Right. So they said to us, Gurdeep Paul, who runs the Skype business, said to us that, so we didn't really explain to you guys what was going on under the covers, but all this time we've been running parts of Skype on P2P and parts of it in the cloud. And so when you've had these mismatches, it's because these two things haven't worked together correctly. And we knew this was going to happen as we did the transition, but we figured it would just kind of all come along and work itself out.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You know what, though? As I think about it, Skype has worked, hasn't it worked much better in the last month for us?
It has. Yep. It has for me as well.
Yep.
I mean, we use it on almost all our podcasts, and it's been much more reliable.
Yep.
Wow.
So I believe by the end of this calendar year, they're saying almost everything will then be on Azure. Every part of Skype Consumer that they can bring over will be on Azure. So it won't be some's on P2P, some's on Azure. It's all hosted on Azure now. And all the new clients that they're introducing will be clients that were optimized to work with Skype running on Azure. But it's just kind of astounding to me because I remember it was like 2013. We all wrote stories saying, and they're off P2P and now they're on the cloud. And so here we are in 2016 and it's like, nope, that actually wasn't true.
Yeah, and in hindsight, as PS Chops says in the chat room, those kinds of infrastructure moves don't happen with the flip of a switch.
They do not.
Yeah.
No.
So
but all the new stuff that you've been seeing for Skype, like Skype Translator, the Skype Bot Framework, Skype file sharing, all this stuff that's been coming out lately, that all is built to run on Skype on Azure. So that was new. But remember when they said they were phasing out Skype for TV and said, we're not going to have that anymore. The reason is it was on peer-to-peer and they couldn't figure out how to get it to Azure. That's the real reason.
Wow.
So it's kind of like the curtain was pulled back today and we're like, that's what's been going on with Skype for the past 3 years.
Wow.
But Brad, what did you think? Did you think this all makes sense? Are you like feeling good or better about Skype?
So when Microsoft approached and said, hey, do you want to talk to Gurdeep, the CVP of Skype? I was like, oh, buddy. like there's just a mountain of information I need to ask him. And there were a couple of telling points, but the biggest thing I asked him, and I said, the story doesn't start today. The story started back in the Windows 7 days when they had a desktop application. And then they moved to Windows 8 and they built a modern app. And they said, we're not going to use the desktop. It's going to be modern as the future. And then Windows 10, they built 3 universal apps, killed those, went back to the desktop app. And then last week they released a universal app again. And I said, very honestly, I said, did you guys just lose 2 years of development time? And he said, well, one, you understand our story very correctly. We were following the trends of Microsoft and trying to be, a team player of what was going on. But realistically, yeah, we did. And I was more respectful that he was willing to say, hey, we did all these things and they didn't work out. And now we're just building one universal app and we're finally getting to the cloud. And it was like finally some clarity out of the Skype team. And I don't know how he kicked off your call, Mary Jo, but the very first thing he said to me was, we should have been much, much more open about this before any of this happened. And this was in Microsoft typical fashion, this was a reactive response. And we all know what was going on. And it damaged the brand, in my opinion. And so now we all kind of think, okay, now they're saying the cloud, but to to Leo's point, the past month or so has been great. And hopefully this fixes all of it. But is this the time that it's really going to fix it all? I think is the big question. And I'm more optimistic about it now than I was probably back in April. But we're kind of now just getting to the universal app, and they're still building out that feature set. So until we get to the point where we're starting to see really new features, and I don't consider bots new features, that's when I'll become more optimistic about the future of Skype, rather than, because it's kind of stagnated. I think they've been using the 300 million number for quite a while now. So we'll see what happens with the future of that. The other thing I asked him too was change logs along with all the other issues. And Skype is pretty notorious about putting out application updates with no change logs, which for some people doesn't matter. But for those who are administering a network where change logs are vitally important, Skype is pretty bad about not doing that. And he did say they would make a conceded effort with the universal app to start including those on a more frequent basis. So there's at least some good news for people who need those for when issues do arise.
Interesting.
I asked about Skype for Business too, and so Skype and Skype for Business aren't even the same thing, even though they have the same names. Like Skype,
not confusing.
The Skype that Microsoft bought is Skype Consumer. Skype for Business is the thing that used to be called Lync, that Microsoft built itself and renamed to Skype for Business. So I said, so what are you doing with Skype for Business to, like, how's that going to fit in here or share any elements? And he said, we're not ready to talk about that yet. So sorry, Skype for Business users. We don't know anything more or new, but Skype for Business wasn't built on a peer-to-peer network like Skype. It was always built, I don't know if it was always hosted on Azure or not, but it was built by Microsoft from the ground up. And it's a different case. I was kind of excited to hear the whole explanation because I just felt like,
oh, sure.
Man, Skype just feels like it never is going to be fixed. It's never going to be right. Like, what are they doing over there? It felt kind of hopeless, right?
No, and I don't think you're alone either.
No, I was just like, they really think Skype can be the brand that they champion against Slack and against all these other things and WhatsApp. It's like, how can it be? They can't even fix the thing. But now I'm feeling a little more optimistic.
Yeah, we'll see. I think this is one of those things where you need to put like a date on your calendar. I do this frequently and say, is Skype fixed? Like in the middle of December? and then that date pops up and you're like, well, they said in the summer it would be by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what what happens this time with their big ambitious promises to make it better. And which, if any sign has been given, they're on the right path finally. Mm-hmm. So let's just hope that they fully execute and we don't have any degradation in the process of moving to the cloud.
Yeah. But then they did announce the Skype UWP app for Windows phones this week too.
Yes.
Which was good. People were wondering if that was ever going to show up, right? It was like, yeah, there's a Skype UWP app in testing among people who are running Insider for Windows PCs, but then where was the mobile one, right?
Yeah, the whole pitch of UWP. Why isn't there a mobile one?
Right. So this week, that preview went out to people who are testing fast-ring Windows 10 Mobile. So that exists. And they also said that, what are they calling it now? It was called Messaging Everywhere, but now they're calling it
SMS Relay, I think.
SMS Relay. That is going to be out this summer with the anniversary update.
Well, that's the thing, is it's already done. We already knew that. Like, it was just,
I know.
They just rebranded it.
When they didn't tell us that, when they announced that they were moving it out of the operating system and into Skype, I was like, oh, so are they going to delay this now and like make it come several months later? But no, it will be out with the anniversary update when they have the UWP version. So
that's good.
That's good. I know. I'm feeling better about Skype as of today.
Yeah, well, it was right when they announced that is when Skype was having some issues too, and it's like, you guys are going to cram more things into Skype, and you can't even get message sync correct. Come on.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Pokemon Go saying we're going to open in Japan because our servers are so reliable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Devices.
Can we talk about Office first?
Oh, how did I skip that? Of course we can.
Some good stuff going on in Office.
Of course we can.
There's actually some very interesting stuff. And I think Leo will be interested in this too. So there's this new Microsoft service they announced this week called Stream. And it's a video service. It's basically a video service for businesses who are using Office 365. They're trying to make it easier to use. And I think they actually are calling it something like the YouTube for business. But I was curious how this fits in with Office 365 Video. They already have something called Office 365 Video. And then they announced, here's Microsoft Stream. And these two things are going to converge at some point. But I kept going back to like, so why do you have two? Like what is different feature-wise in Stream from Office 365 Video? The answer is, from what I can tell, not a lot, if anything. And Stream was introduced to be kind of the freemium model of Office 365 Video. It's meant to kind of hook people in and then get them to upgrade to Office 365. So it was a weird announcement. It was presented in kind of a strange way to me when I read about it. But if you think about what Microsoft did with Power BI, they came out with a paid version. Then they came back and said, oh, wait, let's introduce a freemium version of Power BI and then have the paid version too. So you could start out with the free, upgrade to the paid. This is what Stream is, I think. Stream is the free version. They're going to try to get you hooked in with and then convince you to upgrade somehow to Stream integrated with Office 365 because you want to unlock more features. So we don't know exactly what are these mysterious features you'll be able to have in the paid versus the free, but I think that's kind of where they're going.
Is it a Skype backend? What is the backend on this?
No, I don't think it's Skype.
It's Azure Media Services underneath both Office 365 Video and Stream. So it's the same underneath platform here.
Interesting.
But yeah. So their idea is if you're in a company, you want to do training videos, you want to have videos that are just available to people inside your company.
Oh, it's not like conference calls.
No. It's more like
broadcast,
pre-recorded, like podcasts,
Okay,
pre-recorded content, that kind of stuff. And you want to store it in SharePoint, say, and make it accessible just to people in your company. That's what this thing is for.
Okay. So it wouldn't be Skype. It doesn't need to be.
No, it's not Skype.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting idea. I'm not sure why they had to come out with a whole new product, and I don't know that they made a convincing case for why they had to do it. But maybe they just wanted a cooler brand name. Yeah. I mean, Stream is a cooler brand name than Office 365 Video, right?
I like the name Stream.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
The logo's kind of cool. It looks like a little arrow, green arrow.
HP's probably not real thrilled about it. But.
Oh, yeah, true. I didn't think of that. Yeah, probably not.
You can't, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
There's only so many words in the English language.
Yeah.
And the other thing announced, it was actually just came out today, is called Microsoft Bookings. And surprisingly, I'm actually really pumped about this. So this is a great little thing for it's definitely targeted like the small business. And the example that they use is that you own a dog shop or a pet daycare or whatever, and people need to come in for grooming. And just with one employee, people can go on your site, create bookings, reservations, and it manages that entire workflow and then automatically updates your calendar. And so this is going to be part of Office 365, I believe, Business Premium. And it's an interesting thing. I used to work way back when in a little soccer shop, and people could come in for like custom fittings and all that stuff, and everything part of that booking process was manual. So now what this tool allows you to do is create a very simple website through their service, and you can direct your customers to it. They can manage the schedule, and you really don't have to do anything. And it just comes through your inbox or to your calendar. And the really nice thing I like that Microsoft is doing about this is that, let's say you have a shop of 10 people. Only one person has to be subscribed to Office 365 Business Premium to utilize the service. Those other employees will still get their calendar updated, and they don't have to actually be subscribers. And for the customer to come up and make a reservation, they don't have to be Office 365 users either. They can do it as an anonymous visitor to the website. So it's really just a way to manage the booking process, and it's coming. It's actually starting, I believe, to roll out today to first users, I believe they call them, in the Office 365.
First release.
First release, yeah. And then by the end of the year, everybody will have it in that tier of Office 365. It's just a neat little product. I think that somebody said, hey, we can build this pretty simply, and it's really going to help out that small business user who needs something to manage this, where they don't have the staff overhead to make reminder phone calls or deal with cancellations.
I think it's going to be interesting if they decide to add it to any other Office 365 platforms. So right now it's just Business Premium, which is the high end of the SMB platforms. It's the one that costs like between $12.50 and $15 a month per user. And right now they're not saying it'll be in E3 or E5 or in the lower end Skype plans. They're just saying this is the plan. So definitely pitched at that the soccer guy like Brad Sams used to be, that guy. I didn't know that about you. You used to work in a soccer shop?
Oh, yeah. This is back in high school. I mean, this is just, high school after school, man. I'd go over and worked in a soccer store and sold soccer shoes and played soccer. And
that's cool.
It was a great job for a high school kid.
Do you still play?
Definitely.
I'd love to play a lot more than I do. Not nearly as much. I played for about 15 years.
There's a lot of adult soccer out here.
Yeah, there's quite a bit in Cincinnati. It's just a timing thing. Yeah. With a little one running around, I'd rather go play with her and then instead of leave and go play soccer when she gets a little bit older. Yeah.
Brad will be the coach of her soccer team.
Oh, I will be way too loud and obnoxious. You've seen me rant against Skype. Oh.
Now devices.
So we thought we were into the clear. At least I kind of thought we were with Microsoft Surface hardware. We kind of gotten over the Surface gate, as Paul put it.
No, is there a problem? Please tell me not.
We would like to tell you no.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a problem, and it's impacting older users. And this is actually a pretty big deal. So if you have a Surface Pro 3 with a Simplo battery, they're failing. And the problem is that they're failing outside of the warranty. Approximately, it seems like people are saying around the 14-month mark, give or take, which means that, hey, if your Surface Pro 3 fails with this battery, you're out of luck. And Microsoft is saying it can cost up to $500 to fix. And what happens is that people are posting their battery output reports, and the capacity of the battery is dropping down to like 1,000 milliamp hours from what was originally 40,000. I mean, it's just a massive, the battery just takes a tank, and your device really just becomes a desktop PC at that point because you can't unplug it. And so Microsoft has acknowledged that they're looking into the issue, but they haven't said what they're going to do about it, if they're going to do anything. And technically, I guess they really don't have to do anything other than if they want to save face and say, hey, look, okay, this actually is a defective battery, and we'll, even though it's out of warranty, we'll deal with it. But technically, they don't have to do anything. So we'll see what happens with the Surface Pro 3, but quite a few people are being impacted by this.
Yeah. How do you know which battery you have? And do many people have that one?
So the first question is pretty easy. You can run a report in Command Shell. If you go to Thurrott, I wrote up what you actually have to do. The thing we don't know is actually how many devices have this Simplo battery in it. There's two types of batteries. So if you don't see Simplo as the battery type, you're fine. But if you do see it, be really careful. And I want to make a point. It's not that the batteries are exploding. That's usually what we see with these lithium ion batteries, is that, the case expands and people are worried they're going to kick out smoke and whatnot. But it's not that. They just lose the ability to hold or retain charge. And for a Surface Pro 3, and some people spend some good money on these things, to be failing that quickly out of warranty it's not the best user experience right now.
We know. We've heard from Barb Bowman.
Yeah, I believe she kicked off the thread about this, and there's a huge Microsoft.
My Surface Book is okay. This is Surface Book 3.
Yes, your Surface Book is okay.
The new devices, as far as we know.
Only Pro 3, right? Only.
Correct.
All right. Yeah. And you can, if you want to get a new one or get a new cover, make your old one feel new. Get an NFL cover.
So
I want my 49ers cover. Actually, a Bengals cover would look pretty cool.
Hey, I would be all over Bengals.
A tiger, orange and black. It'd be good.
So this was probably the most interesting tip I've ever gotten. A reader contacted me and told me to add Lindsey Vonn on Snapchat. And at first, I honestly thought their account was hacked. And I was responding, and it was like natural. I was like, okay. And this person, clearly closely associated to the Denver Broncos, as it shown by the image, has a Surface cover, a Microsoft Surface cover with the Denver Broncos logo completely customized into it. And it looks fantastic. Now, that's about all we know.
It actually goes over the hinge, but it could be part of their NFL deal, right? It might not be available to the public.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
But Microsoft does have that deal. I mean, if they sold these things, I would buy one.
But how would you do it? I mean, you could see the hinge. It's kind of like it was painted on.
I think it should be okay. I don't know. Until we could actually get our hands on these. Now, I know that this is not the first time that they have done that, because I've been up on Microsoft's campus and seen employees with Seahawks ones, at least last year. And so I don't know if this is like an extension of that and they're just giving these to the NFL teams, or what they're doing, or if they actually plan to sell these things. But I don't know. I would love a Bengals one. I would love an orange one, which they don't even make currently. So
we had to do
I'm laughing because I'm like, who's Lindsey Vaughn?
Don't worry. I was like, add Lindsey Vaughn on Snapchat. I was like, what?
It's a Snapchat. That's funny.
Yeah, so this is a screenshot from Snapchat of that individual sharing the cover that they found, at least from the Denver Broncos.
If they can make all these custom game controllers, why not make custom covers in that lab that Panos has?
Yeah. I'm still surprised we have never seen an Xbox branded type cover.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Weren't they going to make a green? Extension. I thought they were going to make green for that. No, they never did.
I thought so too. I don't know. They never did. I mean, maybe I don't know what they would do with it, but it seems like that would be a natural extension of these things, but we have yet to see it come out.
I actually, I didn't realize I didn't see this. You already had the story about August 2nd. I got an email from Amazon saying your Xbox One S is coming August 2nd. They had said end of August rather.
August.
And so my date was August 31st, but that's August 2nd soon.
Yep.
So I think it's important to understand too that this is only the launch edition that is coming, and that's the 2 terabyte model. If you pre-order the Xbox One S, I believe it's with the 500 gig or the 1 terabyte version, that will not show up until, I think they're on the Microsoft store right now. They're listing December.
Oh wow.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that because I have an external drive. I didn't really need the 2 terabyte version. But
and it's interesting. August 2nd, same day as anniversary update.
It's also the same day Paul's coming home. I might sit out on his porch and just snag his Xbox when it shows up. Yeah, I'm Paul Thurrott. I'll sign for that.
This, besides being smaller, it's not more capable, or is it?
It is in some ways. The only way it's more capable is that it can play back 4K video. It can't play 4K games, but like Netflix, for example, it could become a 4K Netflix player.
So now I have to buy a new TV to go with my new Xbox. Okay. Well, I get
all
it.
part of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be 4K ready, and I actually am not rushing out to buy a new TV.
No.
No, I don't know if there's. I mean, obviously, I think I will definitely buy one, but the content's got to be there, and it's
not there.
And as much as I hate to depend on the cable company, I mean, that's really when I would probably make the jump, is when I can watch my Bengals on Sunday in 4K.
That would be awesome.
That's a motivator for me to buy a TV.
Yeah, there you go.
And until that happens, I'm not making the jump yet.
And the Xbox Beta app, what is that? So you're sharing more. I don't know what this. I'm just looking.
Yeah, they're just adding more features to the Xbox app. I mean, it's
Paul's story.
Yeah. And it's just the evolution of what they are doing with the Xbox thing on the console or on the PC.
Yeah.
And I'm still a firm believer that they are eventually going to bring that entire experience, maybe not so much the gaming, but at least the interface and components of it, to the desktop. And this is just the slow process of them making the application more functional. And I got to give them credit too. I think they've done a wonderful job with the Xbox app on Windows 10. I personally didn't think I would use it when I saw it initially, but I actually find myself firing it up a couple times a week to just log in and see what my friends are doing and share the stuff that I've done. And I think they've done a wonderful job, and I think this is just the evolution of the app, just through incremental updates.
And finally, I also mentioned the new HP Elite X3 phone with Continuum is coming soon.
Yep.
Yes, it is, and it's not going to be cheap either.
No,
but
I know. I was kind of surprised on the pricing. Were you? I knew it was going to be expensive, but it's pretty darn expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at. I mean, it's an enterprise.
$600 just the phone. Like,
yeah, but that's that's what an iPhone costs. That's what a feature, the flagship.
but it's a
phones
Windows
cost.
phone.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, this is the premium of the premium
was
Windows
the
phones,
1050
and I think
less than that. I mean, I don't think so.
I don't think
remember.
any consumer in their right mind is going to be buying this. First off, I don't even know if
No,
they
it's a
can. If they're on
business phone.
Verizon, they can't.
Yeah, it's a business phone.
And so this is an enterprise play at the end of the day, and that's where the pricing is reflected.
I think it's and by the way, there's no point in getting just the phone. You want to get the thin client and the Continuum dock and all that, right?
Yep.
Right.
So when you get all
yeah.
that stuff, how much is it?
Yeah, well, then when you start adding stuff, we know that with the dock it's $700, but we don't know. There's also that clamshell form factor that you can use it with, so that the phone becomes like your CPU for your clamshell. We don't know how much that costs. They haven't announced all these different bundles they're going to have yet. They're just starting to do the rollout starting August 29th. So then we're going to start hearing about all these different bundles and how much the software costs and all that.
Because otherwise it doesn't. I mean, that's how you're going to buy it.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to buy it any other way. I bet we see $1,000 price tag.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I would think.
But think of it as a PC, right?
I know.
Right.
It's a laptop.
There's definitely value in it. I can see why and how they could charge that. I mean, this point has been hammered to death, but you don't have to buy a laptop anymore or a phone. You buy one.
Right.
And so that's where they can get the price point, and they can say, hey, look, you're buying your employees a $600 phone and a $1,500 PC. Well, just buy them one and then be done with it.
Yeah. Donna had the phone with her in her big bag, and it looks really great. Like it's a nice phone, but
boy, I'm so interested in it.
It's not on Verizon, by the way, just in case you were wondering.
Well, what is anyway?
I know, but a lot of people thought it might be because it's a business phone, and Verizon is the biggest carrier for businesses. So people were like,
really?
"Oh yeah,
interesting. I
yeah."
didn't know that. Yeah.
So it must be Verizon. No.
I just so happened to have on my desk for something else, but this is what soured that whole relationship, the Kin one.
Oh, the Kin.
Jeez.
The only phone to be
Kin
announced, released, and canceled in under 6 months.
Yeah, that was.
It's a miracle.
It was. It's a miracle. Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break, and the back of the book is just around the corner. Brad Sams is here from Cincinnati, from New York City. It's Mary Jo Foley. We're talking Windows. Paul's in Paris, and he declined to be a party to this conversation because he's enjoying life on the Champs-Élysées. Our show today, and if Paul were here, he'd be happy to talk about it. Brought to you by Audible.com. Paul and I are major audiobook fans. Paul, I know when he got on the plane, had a phone loaded with Audible selections, and we'll find out when he gets back what he was listening to. And we're going to get you your first taste of audiobooks. One of the reasons they do this, I think, is some people have never done audiobooks have qualms about it. Like, well, what's it going to be like? Is it going to be like reading a book? Is it, am I going to, miss things? Is my mind going to wander? And, and how do I, how does that work? I got to tell you, I've been an audiobook listener since 1999, I think, and I discovered Audible in 2000, and what a revolution, because I used to get the cassettes, the boxes of cassettes, and when Audible came out, and I could download it, and I listened to it on a device, mind blown. So I am a huge Audible fan. I don't go anywhere without 4 or 5 books on my phone at any given time, and now this is really the easy way. They've got a great app, beautiful Windows Phone app and Windows 10 app, Android, iOS. You can buy books on the app. You can listen to them, download them, and listen to them, and so many great books. Audible has now 250,000 titles, not just books, but periodicals, radio plays, all sorts. I mean, just a huge variety. I hope Paul, before he went to Paris, downloaded A Movable Feast, Ernest Hemingway's love letter to the City of Light. That would be a great one to listen to. I've always wanted to walk around Paris while listening to that. But you can go, Paul likes history. There's a lot of great history on Audible.com. Right now I'm listening to a kind of sci-fi book by Connie Willis. I really like her stuff. It's called The Doomsday Book, and it's about, she wrote To Say Nothing of the Dog, which is a fantastic book, The Doomsday Book is about it's 2050, the year 2050, and historians have figured out how to travel back in time for historic purposes. And a young woman travels back to the Middle Ages with an unexpected result. Ooh, I love it. It's a fabulous book. So here's the deal. I'm going to get you your first book free. By the way, they also offer language instruction. So if you're going to France and you want to learn French, they have several different language solutions. I love the Pimsleur program. And this is all included if you have an Audible subscription. I downloaded both the Pimsleur and these Collins French with Paul Noble, which are supposedly is a kind of a more relaxed way to learn. A lot of people like this. I downloaded the first chapter of each because it's an Audible. I can, and I'm figuring out which one I'm gonna use before I go to France in the fall. Learn French word power if you just want to build your vocabulary. It's just fantastic, and this is all part of your subscription. We're going to show you how to sample Audible, get your first book free, and sign up for the Book of a Month subscription, the Credit a Month subscription. With it, by the way, you also get the daily digest of the New York Times and Wall Street Journal read to you. Great for keeping up on the world situation in your car, while you're walking the dog, in the gym. I've been walking to work just so I can listen to more Audible, which is fantastic. Go to audible.com/windows. You'll be signing up for the Gold account. First book free. You have 30 days. Cancel anytime in the first 30 days. You'll pay nothing. That book is yours, though. You can keep it forever. The only tough thing is, look at all these great books. Oh, I loved this. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. 32 hours. You're gonna get your listening dollar on that one. I loved that. I really enjoyed that book. There's so many great Audible books. Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. Also, college lectures. You can really learn because they have the great courses, all of them. So the sky's the limit. I highly recommend it. Try it, though, and see if it's for you. And you can do that no risk, no cost at audible.com/windows. Audible was one of our first sponsors on Twit. They've been with us, I think, 8 years. We thank them so much for making all of our shows possible. Now it's time for what I jokingly call the back of the book. Remember the part of the magazine where they had all the kind of the tidbits in the back? That's what this is.
I do.
Starting with our tip of the week. Who's going to take this one?
Brad, do you want to do it or not?
Sure, I will dive right in. Actually, Paul's a big user of Groove. And Groove, if you are an iOS or Android user, you probably know by now, finally got the big update that Microsoft has been promising that brings a bunch of new, well, not even new functionality, just kind of pairs it up to the desktop app that has been constantly updated. So tip of the week, if you're a Groove user, definitely check out the App Store, get it downloaded, and you should have a much better music streaming experience going forward.
Nice. iOS and Android as well.
I know. I got it on my Android phone.
Do you?
Yep.
Oh, you know what? I should too, because I forgot. I have all these. Remember they had that free album giveaway a couple of Christmases ago? And I got like 20 albums on there.
You should try it out.
I'm going to download it right now.
Yeah. It actually is really great. And I was really lamenting how awful Groove was on Android. I'm like, wow, so many Microsoft apps are amazing on Android, but Groove, it's like the worst, the absolute worst. Oh. And now they've suddenly brought it almost up to complete par. Not quite, but almost up to complete par with Windows.
Cool. So I presume if I sign in with my Microsoft account, I'll get access to all that music.
It should be good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Software pick of the week. Oh, Paul was playing with this, I think.
Yeah, so Microsoft has released the Windows Camera Panorama mode. So there used to be, back when, well, Nokia still owned it, there was a panorama feature in Windows, but they killed the app, and now the feature, that actual panorama mode, is back. So if you're running Windows 10 Mobile, make sure you're on Insider Fast Ring. You're already running a small install base, so make sure you're running. You got to be on the Insider, because that's just the way you got to do it if you're a Windows Phone user. And you'll get the panorama mode, and it's exactly like it sounds like. It brings that functionality native to the camera app and allows you to take panoramas.
Paul said he was having trouble with his, was it a 9? I don't know which Lumia he's using. Maybe the 9.
I think he's got the 950 with him.
That the stitching, he thought it might be a performance issue. The stitching wasn't, it had visible glitches. So I don't know.
I wonder if this is based on PhotoSynth. Remember Microsoft's Panorama?
Sure.
That was a
technology?
great program.
It was a great app. I hope it is. I mean, I hope they don't. I can't imagine them giving up on PhotoSynth to any capacity. I mean, that was a great technology. So I would imagine there's some overlap, I hope.
Yeah. They didn't really say very much about it, except, hey, it's here, go get it. And that was about all. Like, they didn't really share the background or anything.
That's kind of how everything is in that world, though, these days. It's
It kind
here
of
you go.
is. Yep. And it works on people with tablets will be happy to know it also works on tablets. So you can look like an iPad user holding a tablet and taking panoramic.
If you want to be one in the crowd, use a Windows 10 mobile tablet.
Oh, and here we have it. Alex Gumpel, who jumps on every Windows Phone bandwagon. Thank goodness somebody does, right? Has just handed me his. He says he's single-handedly keeping them in business.
That's good. Somebody has to.
So there's the app. It's it's a pretty standard.
Yeah.
You take the picture and you pan it. Can you go up and down too? No. That didn't like that at all. So it isn't really PhotoSynth. It's just a standard kind of Pano app.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Enterprise pick of the week. I'm thinking Mary Jo's going to take this one.
I will. Enterprise pick of the week is for people who are interested in Windows Server 2016, which is going to be coming out this fall. So there's a single website. It's Microsoft.com/WS2016, and it has everything you could want about this and more. I was wondering how Microsoft was going to kind of bring all this information together, because there is a lot to know if you're interested in Windows Server 2016. Lots of features. There's lots of different versions and editions. They're all licensed in different ways, some per processor, some per core. You have to find out about, do I want to run Nano Server? Do I not? There's one website now that has all this information on it, and it's that one I just said, Microsoft.com/WS2016. I didn't even know this existed, but a guy who works at Microsoft named Jeff Woolsey tweeted it this week, and that's how I found out. So thanks, Jeff.
Yay.
Yep.
Ooh, and I just added Groove to my phone.
Good.
And while I'm not a Groove subscriber, I remember I had bought some albums, and they all are showing up right here.
Yep.
Which is really, this is great, and I can stream them and everything. That's fantastic. It's
finally.
And you know what? It is pretty. This is on my
yeah.
Android
It looks
device.
really good. It does.
Yeah, very nice.
Looks like Zune. No, don't.
No, it doesn't. No, it looks like a modern music player, actually. And I can shuffle. I have 837 songs that I got for free. I can shuffle them all. Nice. All right. Code name of the week. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope. Good. Code name. I'm not sure if this is a code name or if it's going to be the final name of this thing, but our friend, The Walking Cat, who we talk about a lot, H0X0D on Twitter, found this thing called Microsoft Pix, Pix. And he had been posting little snippets from Microsoft Pix. And I said to him, is this just living images or what is this? And he found out that it is actually a camera app for iOS developed by Microsoft Research. He had a link to it and Microsoft pulled it down, but he did a quick capture of the screenshot that he saw, and it has living images stuff in there. It has some things about, I'm not exactly sure what else it's going to bring, but it's got some other capabilities. It hasn't been announced yet. That's why we don't really know about it, but it seems to be something coming soon. And I'm not exactly sure why Microsoft Research did this, like what specifically from research is in it that's not commercialized.
But remember, they did photosynth, so
they did, yeah,
they
and
do
they've
some
done
interesting stuff.
They do.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff around cameras, and I guess iOS because that's the most used platform here in the States for phones. But yeah, it's maybe we're going to see this. I thought it might be a Garage app, a Microsoft Incubator app, but no, it's from Research. So maybe sometime this summer, if there's a research conference or SIGGRAPH or one of these, they're going to come out with more information. Not sure.
Yeah, I think the idea, at least from some of the documentation that he posted, is that it's going to take better photos than the actual Apple camera app. I think that was kind of the idea, is that through algorithms and lighting and all that good stuff, that they just kind of do their Microsoft touch of placing their own enhancements upon what the camera can do. But I don't think it was some
selfie app, right? It wasn't that them who did the selfie app?
Yeah. You just turned it and it would see you, and yeah.
So Microsoft's got a lot of cool camera tech. I mean, we've seen these things where they can take images and match you up to celebrities or what breed of dog and all that kind of weird stuff. And I'm hoping that maybe they're kind of weaseling some of that technology on the backside to help us take better pictures.
It might be a Snapchat competitor. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I don't think we're going that far.
Well, but it's a jaunty name, Pix.
It is.
That's jaunty.
They're getting jauntier with their names, like Stream. You know, they're trying to get away from the old tradition of names.
Finally.
Time for beer.
I made this beer pick in honor of Brad.
Aw.
Ooh. Aw. I could take a guess at what type of beer it is.
Yes. So Brad loves wit beer, I found out when we were in Toronto. Like, it's his thing, like his real thing. So I know there's a really good wit beer, Belgian wit style beer from New Belgium Brewing in Fort Collins, and it's called Mothership Wit.
Wit, not wheat.
What
is wit?
No.
So wit has to do, it's a wheat beer, but it's a specific kind of a wheat beer. It's a Belgian wheat. And there's certain characteristics about a wit beer. I actually looked this up today because I'm like, wit. A wit beer must be brewed with at least 25% of wheat malts, it says. Oh. And that's what makes Belgian beers typically fruitier and kind of have that certain characteristic that they have. So this one's from New Belgium. New Belgium's a really good brewery. They just started distributing here in New York, so we're getting a lot more of their beers here too. And this one is just like a real good example of the style, light, summery, just an all-around tasty wit if you're into that style. So Brad Sams, I think you would like this beer a lot.
I think we have quite a few New Belgians at Kroger's in my town. So I was actually thinking like, hey, can I run there before dinner and see if they have it?
Nice.
Nice beer for a
fantastic
hot summer day.
Yes.
Little wit.
Indeed.
And actually, I kind of like this case.
I know. Me too.
Here because it's got a whole bunch of interesting summer beers in it.
Yeah, they're doing these mixed cases from New Belgium where you can get one case and it has a whole bunch of different examples of their beers in it, which is kind of fun if you want to try out a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm. I love Fat Tire, but I haven't had any of the others. So. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great show. Thank you for being here, Brad Sams.
Always a pleasure. Always fun.
From Petri, where he's executive editor, and Paul Thurrott's boss at Thurrott.com. And I just like saying that.
I can tell.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Oh, man. I enjoy it. And we don't know what's going on next week. Paul's going to continue to take time off, but Mary Jo says she's got something clever planned.
I'm working on something. If I can pull this off, it's going to be really good. And if I can't, don't worry. Well, I'll do something else.
We all must be here next Wednesday. Mary Jo is, of course, all about Microsoft.com. That's her ZDNet blog. And we are here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. If you want to stop by and watch live, join us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. You're more than welcome. But if you can't, no fear. No harm, because you know what? Really, the real meat and potatoes of this network is not the live stream. That's just for fun. It's the podcasts that we're making. You're just watching us work. If you want the sausage, not the sausage factory, go to twit.tv/WW or subscribe.
Is that our new motto?
That's my new slogan. Yeah. Get the sausage, not the sausage factory. The reason I mention that is I think a lot of people, it's our fault. We put a schedule out and, we tweet it and we talk about it on the shows. So they kind of get the idea that this is like a television channel and you can watch, you tune in exactly at 11. And it's not exactly at 11 because it isn't a television channel. It's just a behind-the-scenes live stream of us making a show. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get whatever's on at any given time. I can't make any promises about what you're going to see. If you want to get the show exactly at 11 on Wednesdays, get last week's show and play it in your car at exactly 11 on Wednesdays. That's the only guarantee. But you'll find it at twit.tv/WW or wherever you subscribe to your online entertainment. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Music or Google Play Music. We're on where else? Stitcher. iTunes, everywhere. Just subscribe. That way you'll get it every week. And we'll be back next week for another great episode of Windows Weekly. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.